This video is sponsored by PCBWay. This story starts quite a while ago at the Retro Collective table sale. Neil from RMC was selling off some of his excess machines because nobody needs 500 Commodore 64s. And I came home from that event with a few items, a miscellaneous stack of Amiga 500s in not working order. That's not the subject of the video. I picked myself up a GVP Sidecar, one that allegedly had nothing in it because it was as light as anything and seemed a bit rattly and a bit janky. The GVP A500 HD8 Plus was introduced in around 1990. Based on the dates in the manual, this one dates from July 1992, or at least that's the revision for the instructions. And looking at magazines, these things were still on sale and readily available at pretty much their launch price in 1994. I'm assuming that the adverts in the September edition were probably already locked in long before Commodore announced they were going bust in April of 1994. And judging by the adverts, one of these would have set you back somewhere in the region of £200 to £220. But in this video we're going to have a look at it, tear it down and repair it. I'm going to admit in advance I have already taken the lid off and I'm already aware of the surprise that's inside.
I was not expecting that.
First things first, we need to take the Zulu SCSI out so we can see properly what's going on underneath. It was 2 AM and I was about to start a long conversation with Jack. And the phone rang. Nobody phones after midnight with good news. I need a prototype and I need it fast with no compromise on quality. I'd have to track the big players in town to pull this one off. The word on the street was that these guys could turn groupers into circuit boards before the coffee went cold. Every lead pointed me to the same place, and they didn't just make the boards, they put the whole operation together. Turns out they were running a printing operation too. Perfect prints, plastic, resin, they could produce just about anything. Needing machining, clean work, no job too complicated. Case closed and a happy client. I can get back to Jack. Don't ask me where I heard this, boss. They're celebrating 12 years, and if you make the right moves, they're literally giving the stuff away. Well, it looks like the cat's out of the bag. Solder mask in my favorite color. That's just what I need. Well, if nothing else, the Zulu SCSI looks in impeccable condition, almost like it was fitted and somebody couldn't get it working. We also appear to have no LEDs whatsoever. I have no idea how these got ripped off the board. Now with everything else removed apart from this power connector, this is awful. And the original cable itself is basically hanging off. Next obvious problem is the SIMM slots themselves. These look a little tarnished, but also most of them are snapped. And that's going to make it particularly difficult to get SIMMs in them. The closest thing I could find were these dual SIMM sockets, and they're just not going to work. So while I'm coming up with a solution for the SIMM sockets, let's pull everything else off the board and get the old ones removed. our cable I'm going to replace with a floppy drive connector salvaged off an ATX power supply that's now dead. Clearing the original cable holes out was a little bit of a stubborn affair, but I did get there in the end. Installing the new cable, just a matter of tacking it in first and then soldering it up properly. And the switch appears to have lost its connections as well. Really do wonder what happened to this poor thing. Fixing the wires on the switch by using a DuPont connector that I've already cut the other end off, so it's kind of fair game. Ring with heat shrink to protect it from short. Well, I've managed to remove all of the 30-pin SIMM sockets. Unfortunately, I have managed to damage a couple of wires and pads. Nothing that can't be repaired relatively easily. Thankfully, Derek from FlameLilly to the rescue, and he sent me 4 brand new 30-pin SIMM sockets. So we can get those installed. My intent here is to max out the memory, adding 2 4MB SIMMs. I'm using very low profile SIMMs because I have actually replaced the original lay down SIMM sockets with upright ones, so I'm restricted a little bit more on height, but these should fit fine. Referring to the silk screen and the manual to set up the jumpers and make sure I get the SIMMs in the right sockets. To replace the LEDs, I'm going to need to fashion something that's similar to the original standoffs. I'm going to use some small cut-offs of PCB and use some heat shrink. This will form a standoff as well as protection from shorting so that the legs don't touch each other and we don't risk bending the LEDs over when we refit the lid. Putting the whole thing back together is really just a reversal of the taking it apart, placing it back in the case and reattaching the Zulu SCSI. Unfortunately, due to some excessive heat in my office, I have lost some footage for this, mostly around setting up the Zulu SCSI, updating its firmware, which to be honest wasn't that interesting, and also creating the Workbench 1.3 image, but we do have footage of this being booted and tested for the first time. Incidentally, the Amiga 500, which is in an Amiga 500 Plus case, is a machine cobbled together from that stack of Amigas I brought home from the tabletop sale. You can also see we have 8 meg of fast RAM and 512K of chip RAM. And a hard drive. I'd also like to take a moment to thank everybody who's supported the channel, be that monetarily, by making donations, or just being encouraging. I really couldn't do this without you. If you found any part of this video entertaining or informative, then please click like and consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out. And in the meantime, why not check this out next?